Hello, everyone, and welcome to the tavern. I'm the Dapper Bard, and today we're going to talk about G-Quuuuux Episode 4. I just want to bring up the fact that I was very worried after Episode 3. I had heard that the movie was good, and the movie is those first 3 episodes. So I was like, all right, yeah, I quite enjoyed these episodes too. Can the show keep up the quality? And while that will be an issue from this point forward, due to being burned by other series, both anime and not, I'm always going to have those worries that things are going to fall apart. But at least with this show, thus far, I'm quite enjoying it. That being said, there are some issues that this series has. So let's break down episode 4 and talk about the good, the bad, and the, oh my god, what's going to happen next? This time around, this episode isn't quite as exposition heavy, which is kind of nice, and it follows up on a few things from the previous episode. We open up with Chalia Bull and that female Zeon lady talking about the events of the previous episode, and then we cut to people protesting because the Zeons are still in Side 6. Side 6 was a neutral colony, so obviously they want the Zeon soldiers out of their colony. And we see the politicians kind of talking back and forth as to how to resolve the situation without things getting worse, and more importantly, their worries that Zeon might get aggressive again. It's nice seeing that little bit of world building in just the first few minutes of the episode. We then get back with Machu, as she's with some other students who apparently won some money gambling, and that leads her into thinking about what you would do if you had a lot of money. Then we cut to her with Shuji as they discuss that, and Shuji talks about how he wants to go to Earth, which gets Machu all charged up about how she wants to go to Earth. Then we cut to Machu with her mother, and her mother's angry at her for not taking her studies seriously, and how her life goal is to grow up to be a jellyfish. We're then back with Machu and Mio on a bridge looking at a river, discussing how on Earth there are big oceans and seas and you can swim in them. Even silly frivolity stuff like, what kind of swimsuit would you wear? Money isn't an object. Let's just dream. And then also cutting into this realization that there's very little she knows about Shuji and the Red Gundam, which will be an ongoing theme throughout this episode. We then also cut to a little sequence where Mio is trying to get another assignment as a courier, and the mysterious man in the car talks about how there's a large bounty for the Red Gundam if she can get the information on it, which will probably lead to further plot points, I'm sure. We then cut to the junk shop, where Machu is talking with some of the other junk people about random stuff, and when they leave the store, she's there with Glasses Guy, and they run into a mysterious woman. Turns out she is someone known as the Witch, and her name is Shiko. She ends up talking with them about the Red Gundam, since the Red Gundam fought for their team. She also immediately knows that Machu was the G-Quuuuux pilot, and they have a bit of a conversation. In the process, we learn that Shiko has a husband and a child, that she's a veteran of the war, that her Mav died in battle. Shiko ends up talking about how you must sacrifice something to get something else, and wouldn't it be nice to live in a world where you could get what you want without having to feel pain. Interestingly enough, in the background of the scene, you see various posters or advertisements for like beauty and fitness. So it's kind of nice to show things that do require sacrifice in order to achieve in the background there as a character is talking about that, adding a nice little extra layer to the character that wasn't originally there. She also ends up asking Machu about her relationship with the pilot of the Red Gundam and what she thinks about the Red Gundam, which leads Machu into questioning the fact that she doesn't seem to know much about Shuji or the Gundam at all. We then flash back to Shuji talking about how the Gundam wants to go to Earth to find a rose, which obviously is a metaphor for something. We just don't know what that is yet, because God forbid Shuji ever be clear with what he says. We then cut back to Shiko as she gets out of a simulator and discusses the quality of the mobile suit. She's told that this has new advanced technology that even the Zeons don't have access to. And in this, they refer to her piloting a light gun cannon, which I really want to see that design because I love the gun cannon, and seeing a gun cannon would be really awesome. We also find out that she doesn't believe in new types. She thinks they're Zeon propaganda. And considering that Zeon Daikun is the person who came up with the new type concept, obviously that would sound like propaganda to a member of the Federation. We then get to our inevitable Gundam battle. And in the process, we find out that they're going up against Shiko in her Gelgoog, which has an awesome semi-gym theming mixed with a Gelgoog, mixed with a little something extra, making it a really cool and unique variation of the Gelgoog, and I love it. Our battle begins. Shiko is being incredibly aggressive towards Machu and Shuji. Fight is pretty intense, and we get a nice little flashback showing her lament about the death of her Mav, and about how trying to live a normal life is incredibly difficult for her, kind of tying into how the war is not over with her, even if an armistice has been reached. I'm sure in the original timeline, she would have become a Titan. What hurts this sequence is a running commentary from the members of the Pomeranians and from Chala Bull. And what we get out of this is no new information. It's all stuff we were already told or already shown, and they're just repeating stuff while the fight is going on. Frankly, this is wasting time in the episode that we could have used to get to know Shuji better, to get to know Mion better, to get to know Shiko better, get to know the Pomeranian team better, anything like that. And instead, it's wasted time of commentary on information we already know, because sometimes mistakes can be made with writing. The battle gets more intense, and the new type stuff goes crazy. So we get our new type sparkliness and our new type world where we see all our characters. We get your cool moment there. It also releases like a sound wave thing that other new type, or at least sensitive people, seem to pick up, called the La La song. We get a note from the Haro that it can't hear it, and it doesn't seem like it's affecting the members of the Pomeranian team either. When this little moment finishes, we get the conclusion of our battle, which is fairly intense, ending with Shiko's death, unfortunately, and Machu being completely shocked by seeing this, as she has never experienced anything like this before in her life. Overall, the story is incredibly rushed. We're really trying to get through point. There's a lot of jumping around, as you noticed when I was talking about different things we're seeing back to back. It is exhausting, and unfortunately takes away from what could have been a very interesting episode. This is really exemplified in the characters more than anything else. So let's discuss the mistakes made with the characters in this episode. All right, our characters kind of take a hit this time around, which tends to be one of the issues with the series as a whole. First, we have Machu. Machu is basically exactly the same as she was the previous episode. You'd think that maybe winning a fight may have boosted her confidence or something, or brought her down a different direction in life. Not really. Her getting yelled at by her mom about wanting to be a jellyfish, her wanting to go to Earth, I guess, is new information. But for the most part, we don't have anything new about this character. She just kind of is. However, I will say that there's a lot of water theming around her that ties back to that bath from that previous episode, but the fact that jellyfish, water animal. When she's talking about the oceans and stuff on Earth, she is looking at a river. There's a little sea creature type looking thing on her cell phone. The little robot friend thing for Shuji looks kind of like a sea creature. So you have a lot of ocean and water themed stuff around her, which is great, but that needs some sort of payoff. Not just, hey, this kind of looks similar to the sparkles during new type activation. We need more than that. Having water theming is great, but it doesn't make you a character. Next, we have Shuji. He is still enigmatic and weird, and while I do like that, we don't get anything else about him other than he wants to go to Earth. And technically, it's not him who wants to go to Earth. The Gundam wants to go to Earth, because Shuji kind of lacks a personality. We have our new character for this episode, Shiko. Shiko is really interesting. Unfortunately, we don't spend that much time with her. While we do get some backstory stuff about her time in the war, about her having a husband and a kid, and while that's really great, it only exists to make us feel bad when she inevitably dies. Her character represents that kind of that shift in personality of, this is me being nice, happy mom, now I'm a soldier again. And I really like that. You could have done something with that could have been interesting. They didn't. More than that, her dislike of new types could have also led to something as well, but she's just gone. And it's unfortunate because they did all this groundwork and we're supposed to feel bad at the end. And that's fine. I'm sure we do. We all feel bad. This could have lasted over a couple of episodes, and that would have meant a lot more because we would have gotten to know her better and really seen how her obsession with the Red Gundam is destroying her life. Instead of just the obsession ends her life, get it, obsession bad, and you have to sacrifice something to get something else. I got it. We all got it. It's unfortunate because I think there's a lot more that could have been done with this character. As for our minor characters, Mion is basically the same. The Pomeranians are kind of there. Even Chalabul and the Zeons are just kind of there. It's fairly weak in terms of other characters doing anything, except for making comments about stuff we already know about. Thanks for that. The characters do not fare well this episode, and it does hurt my overall score. But you know what does fare well? Every episode? The aesthetics. Our aesthetics are great as always. On the audio side of things, there's some really nice touches. First off, the little la-la sound, la-la song thing, really well done. It just kind of makes just enough of a curiosity for the viewer, while also providing a cool little resonance effect that occurs when new type activation is happening. We also get, of course, our little new type sparks occurring as they're battling. I do love hearing that sound as they're, using their powers more and more and dodging and fighting in a more intense way. But more than that, in the fighting, you can hear the straining of the machines. When Shuko uses her little grapples and they hold on to things, you can hear the straining. You can hear how the machine is being bent or forced to go in a direction it's not supposed to go into. And I really like that. It's just those little things that make it seem like this fight is significantly more intense, that this is a strain on the machines, that these new type pilots are going beyond what the technology will allow them to do, and the consequences of the damage that causes to the machine, both their enemy and themselves. Overall, great sound design this time around. I am always pleased with how well the audio is handled in this series. Great work. When it comes to the visuals, we have some interesting things to kind of look at here. First off, the fight is really cool, but what's really interesting in the fight is that as the characters watching it explain the strategy, you then start to see the strategy in motion. You see the little grappling hook things going in and grabbing the Red Gundam, trying to restrain it and then shoot it up. I think someone's seen the 8th MS team, because that is how Shiro defeats a Zaku with a ball, by using the grapple in order to restrain the unit and then firing point blank. Not sure if it's supposed to be a reference to that, but it made me happy. Beyond that, we have the new type stuff. Not only is it just kind of the cool usage of the visuals and the colors, and how it almost kind of looks like flowing water to tie into that whole water theme thing we got going on, but more than that, the spacing between the characters not only represents the spacing they have in the fight, but also their distance from each other emotionally. It has a secondary meaning to it, and I do really appreciate that. Also, we see that Shuji is looking at something and talking with something that we don't get to see or hear, which is very interesting. We also have Shiko having a little vision of her family, and we get to have Matcha watching them, trying to figure it out and understand what's going on. She is our observer type character who's going to have stuff explained to her, and that's kind of what I predicted for the character, actually. So it is kind of nice to see that little moment of her trying to figure out what's really going on with these two other more advanced new types. Overall, the artwork, the usage of great background stuff, such as the posters I mentioned in the story section, the really cool battle and the new typiness, and even the usage of shadows comes back again as the politicians I mentioned in the story are shaded, while the people protesting are all in the light. All that work, really well done. You can tell that they put effort into making this series not just look good in the battles, but to have larger meanings to the themes as they appear in the background while characters are talking, which is excellent work. But the big question is, were the aesthetics enough to pull this episode up from its flaws? Let's find out. Like with previous episodes, we're definitely given more questions than we are answers, which is getting a little annoying now that we're on episode 4, especially considering the fact that this is a 12-episode series. So it would be nice to be able to get at least some answers to move us forward, rather than just adding up more questions. And I'll admit, I did not enjoy this episode as much as I did the second and third episodes. But it wasn't by any means bad, just flawed. That's why my final verdict for episode 4 of G-Quuuuux is 3 out of 5. Our story feels very rushed, and it feels like we're just trying to get through this, and that most certainly hurts the episode a lot. We're jumping between characters, between places, just rapid fire, and not really building anything up. Even Shiko feels very forced and rushed instead of being a really deep, interesting character, which it does feel like they could have done, but unfortunately didn't happen. And because of kind of rushing things through and kind of having the weak characters, it just makes this less enjoyable of an episode, because a lot of the stuff they're telling me I either already know, or it falls under that category of, cool, what does that mean? We're at a stage in the show where I don't mind getting to know the characters more, but we're not really getting to know our characters more. We're just having the story push forward, and it does hurt the episode overall. I didn't hate watching it at all. Just wished it did things a little bit better. This episode did bring up one little question, though, that I found very interesting. Is there a soul inside the Gundam? Which they have done before in the Blue Destiny, so it is not outside the realm of reason they could take that concept and do something new with it. Machu brings up how Gundams can't talk, and yet Shuji talks to his Gundam. And in the new type section, Shuji is clearly talking with someone else, but we can't see or hear that person. So it would be interesting to know if maybe a soul was somehow attached to the Red Gundam, or if this is something else, or someone else he's communicating with. In addition to that, we also have a big discussion about goals and people's personal wishes, which is nice. It ties into themes alongside the water motif. But the problem is, neither of these have any real payoff right now. It's just kind of a buildup of these ideas. Hopefully, we will get some good payoff as the story continues, and these aren't just motifs and ideas that are just floating there going like, makes you think, right? But speaking of thinking, I want to know what you think about this episode. So let me know in the comments. In addition to that, please like and subscribe. Check out my other videos. I got some really great stuff if you're a Gundam fan, and I got some odd manga reviews and things like that as well, for those of you interested in my odd occasional thoughts on manga. So thank you for watching. I hope you tune in next time, and until then, I'll see you at the tavern.